Hello and welcome to After Sound Review, and this is my review for Fitear MH335 double woofer. If you know about this Fitear brand, it's like an actually really exclusive brand from Japan, and it's being used by a lot of Japanese idol and Japanese singers such as IER, Uru, or Asian Kung Fu Generation, AAA, Amazarashi. So there's a lot of great and very well known singers that are using Fitear custom in-ear monitor when they perform. So it's a really exclusive item for me, and even if you want this, it will be hard for you to find them in stock. You need to pre-order them, and it costs around 200,000 yen. So I see in the internet right now it's around 800 bucks. And yeah, it's not cheap, and it's really exclusive, so it's really hard to find such a demo item for this. And first of all, I need to thank you, my friend Souji, for providing me with his collection so I could review them. Okay, just like usual, I will review them from the build, fit, frequency response, sound, and comparison. But I have to tell you, this item is also the MH series is actually a collaboration between Keita Tsuyama, the founder of the Fitear company, and also Mitsuharu Harada. That's why it has the MH name in its series. Mitsuharu Harada is a Japanese mastering engineer, so the person behind them is really a very well-known person. Okay, for the build quality for this Fitear MH335 double woofer, I could simply say it's quite good. It's full resin, and this type of resin, it actually feels full, and I don't really feel any hollowness in them. And I should say that this IM is actually a universalized version of a certain custom IM. So a person bought it and it doesn't fit, so they asked for a certain company to help making them a universal version, so they could use ear tips on them. And for me, it feels really good. It feels thick and quite high quality. And I should say that this Fitear is also having this Fitear signature dual pin connector. Don't look at this part because this is a connection, and there's this part. You need to take a look at this part. The Fitear has this kind of signatures Fitear pin that doesn't really compatible with everything else besides the Fitear itself. So if you see a Japanese singer using this kind of pin, you will know immediately that it is a Fitear brand. And as for the build quality of the cable itself, I couldn't say a lot because it's a third-party cable. This is a pure silver from ferrous cable, and the stock cable from Fitear, no matter what kind of type I've tried, either it's 2GO 334 or the MH334, it always has this kind of thick cable that is really rigid, so it doesn't really feel good in the actual using. But yeah, nevertheless, I never see someone breaks it. As for the fit for this IM, is actually, if you order them, as far as I know, they should be in custom IM. There's no, you cannot really buy the demo version, the universal version of them. But this one is like a universalized custom IM. So yeah, the nozzle part has been molded more into a better shape for ear tips. And for me, I'm actually a bit afraid it might not fit my small ears, but in fact, it fits really good. I know it still looks really bulky, but nevertheless, I could wear them for hours, and also, for me, the isolation level is really great. Okay, for the frequency response for this Fitear MH335 double woofer, I could simply say that this is warm, because you can see that the elevation is mainly on the mid to sub bass, while there's lacking pinna gain actually around this 3 to 4K area. I should say that this is a raw frequency response, so it's not compensated in any way, so it's definitely lacking a little bit of pinna gain around 3K here. which making the vocals sounds quite warm and maybe lacking upper mid for especially for female vocals. But that being said, for me the overall presentation is very nice and not offensive in any way. There's none of the shoutiness aspect to it, and there's no sibilance I could find at this IM. It's really a nice frequency response, but I need to compare them with some of my higher end IMs that I've tried, like this Sony IER M9. They both share similar frequency response around the mid to sub bass, and yes, they both have quite thick mid bass but extends well to the sub bass. But in the Sony IER M9, the thing that I notice the most is when the female vocal is more apparent thanks to its more forward upper mid range, and the treble is also more extended and more airy, even though my coupler is actually not really relevant after the peak resonance. But in this case I could hear definitely that the M9 is more airy compared to this Fitear MH335 double woofer. And again, comparing them with this 64 audio U12T, this is literally what I hear. It truly portrays what I hear, this frequency response. Again, the female vocals actually sound more airy and more present thanks to its more upper mid-range area around this part. And also the bass, actually the mid bass is quite thicker in the Fitear, but the sub bass present, it is somehow more deeper and it's quite noticeable. The sub bass rumble is more noticeable in this 64 audio U12T, which I considered to be the best BA bass that I've ever heard. And again, one thing that I noticed is about this part, that the 64 audio U12T, either it's because of its Apex module or maybe its TIA driver, it's definitely giving us an airy frequency around 60K, 16K. So it just feels like an airy frequency around that part. So yeah, for me this Fitear MH335 double woofer, it's simply a really warm, inoffensive sounding, really gentle sounding IM. Quite nice. Okay, as for the sound for this Fitear MH335 double woofer, I should say that you need to take it with a grain of salt, because I'm using not its stock cable, but it's a pure silver cable from Veras Audio. And from the info of the owner of this IM itself, the sound doesn't really change a lot, but it helps to open up the vocal especially. So please take this review with a grain of salt. And I've tried them using my QLix 5K, iBasso DX160, and also i5X DSC, and I should say that they do get more benefit using balanced cable. It has better power, it has better clarity, and also better soundstage, but without losing its sweetness. Okay, first of all, I should say the tonal of this IM is definitely going into warm category, and it's really organic warm. So I'm not saying it's veiled, it doesn't sound veiled, and also it's really sounds organic with a smooth vocal and body in its mid-range and also body in its bass. It sounds really coherent, maybe one of the most coherent balanced armature IM that I've ever tried. And for me, that is what's special about this Fitear IM. Because here, I have tried some Fitears, like the Fitear 2Go 334, Fitear MH334, and also this Fitear MH335 double woofer, and I should say they all sounds really coherent, as if you cannot tell how many drivers that they are used, or maybe even if they are using dynamic driver, you can't really tell, but it sounds really coherent and really natural sounding. So that's what special for me from this Fitear company. Okay, going to the bass, this is a meaty bass. This is a punchy and quite thick bass, but don't get scared by its name, the double woofer, because it never goes into bass head category. It's just punchy and really good warmth to it, and it's really again organic, but it has still retain its good sweet. So if you play some rock music into it, it will still capable to show some details on the bass. And also the mid-range may be my favorite of this IM, because it is smooth, it is full-bodied, but it's still, like I said, it's still organic. Maybe organic is the right part to portray the kinds of the sound, because the male vocal sound full-bodied and still clear, and female vocal also again full-bodied in the warmer side, but also feels open, and they all sounds detailed and sweet. Ariana Grande, Lady Gaga, Taeyeon, IU, you can name a lot of female vocalists. It will sounds full-bodied, warm, but still open and really clear. And also the male vocal, or like Ed Sheeran, Josh Groban, Justin Bieber, it will sounds again full-bodied and really natural. So I really like this kind of vocal. But if you are a neutral head, you might find this a little bit too warm maybe. And the treble is definitely not extended. It's not really rolled off either, but it still regains a naturalness to it. So if you hear cymbal crash, it will sound a little bit smoothed, and also violins a little bit smoother, but it's still organic sounding. And for me that's special because the violin actually sounds like a warm violin sounding rather than a veiled or rolled off violin. Still, it has this good speed and good details on it. So it's a really warm and really natural sounding IM in its tonal. And when it comes to separation and technicalities level, I should say that it's I'm sorry I didn't have my S8 here. It's being lent to my friend, but I have tried them head to head, and I should say that my S8 sounds much more thinner compared to this MH335. And even though it has a lot of different price level, I mean the Moondrop S8 is only around $700, while this MH335 double woofer is around $1,800. But I should say that they are both similar in the level of separation. So it's not really that separated, but I should say the soundstage and also imaging is better on this MH335 double woofer. But the Moondrop S8 is much thinner and maybe shoutier for some people. So yeah, actually prefer this MH335 double woofer overall in tonality and also technicality compared to this my Moondrop S8 itself, yes. And also compare them with my favorite IM right now, the IER M9, even though again they are different in price point. IER M9 is $1,000 and this one is $1,800. But the level of separation and technicalities for this IER M9 is obviously for me better than this Fitear MH335. Even though they are both using 5 drivers, but maybe it's because of the technology. I should say that this one, the oldest review, it came from around 2013, while this one, IER M9, is released in 2018. For me, there's a 5 years gap in technology. And for me, no matter what kind of song, especially orchestral or maybe Disney songs, you know, with a lot of elements on it, the IER M9 will always emerge as a victorious one with much better separation level and also better imaging. The soundstage is actually quite the same, but the separation level and also the imaging is really different. And also the extension is also better on the Sony IER M9. The bass is deeper and also more textured, the vocal is clearer, and also the treble is much more extended while still regaining its smoothness on this IER M9. The IER M9 compared to the tonality of this Fitear MH335 is definitely more neutral, even though I still consider them as warm, but the Fitear MH335 double woofer is simply warmer, more full-bodied in the mid-range. But this one is more neutral, so the female vocal sounds more open for me. Okay, they both have its own forte, but for me the MH335, it still wins when you like a full-bodied sound, a really warm sound, and really coherent sounding IM that somehow really reminds me of dynamic driver IMs. But when it comes to technicality and also separation level and more neutral and extension, I should say that IER M9 is still better, even though it is a lot cheaper compared to this Fitear. And myself, I still like the IER M9, it's really good, but this Fitear is still holding a special place in my heart because of how coherent they sound and how full-bodied but still natural and organic they sound. So for me, sure, this is an old IM. It's not a new IM, but still the tuning somehow is really still special until this day. For me, it has a really coherent sound that makes them sounds like a single dynamic driver sometimes, but with a separation level of multi-balance armature. That's what's special for this Fitear for me. It sounds really coherent, just like another Fitear that I've tried, like the 2Go 334 and also the MH335. Also have this kind of great coherency to them, but this one is like on the upper level of them. And also I should say that even though the tonality is special, I should say that still compared to nowadays IM that has more newer technology, latest technology such as unique melody mask or maybe the Sony IER M9, even though they cost cheaper but they have better technicalities. So if you are searching for technicalities, you won't find this in them in this price point. But if you look for such a unique IM with really high coherency to them, you really need to try them because they are also exclusive and hard to get. So yeah, in the end it's still a really good IM, but the technicalities is not really live up to these days. I think that's all for today's review. I hope you enjoy. If you have any question, please write down in the comments below, and see you next time. Bye bye.